All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So welcome everybody to the next installment of the OurCrowd Investor Webinar. I'm an OurCrowd partner, Zach Miller. I head up the investor community. We run these types of events every time we launch a new investment onto our website. And it's a great opportunity for investors from around the world to come and listen to our entrepreneurs pitch about their companies and to ask questions and drill down and get a feel really for the flavor of the investment case for each particular investment. Tonight we're very excited to have VocalZoom. We have Yechiel Kurtz, who's the executive chairman and president of the company. VocalZoom's not a new launch for us. We've actually, this is our second time investing in the company. So Yechiel will give us not only a pitch on what the company represents, what it does, its technology, but also how the company has progressed since the first investment we've made. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this session tonight, so we'll have the recording and email out to you guys probably by early tomorrow. You'll be able to review the webinar if you weren't able to make the whole thing. We understand that time is sensitive. We try to be very exacting through your time into our entrepreneurs' time. This event will last an hour, and we'll be done within that time frame. We'll have about a 40-minute presentation. Yechiel will take us through the investor presentation you see in front of you. There'll be another 20 minutes at the end that you can ask questions. If you look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see there's a questions section there. Submit any questions you have at any point during the webinar. That'll come through to me. I'll make sure to ask those to Yechiel at the end of the event. Beyond that, all of your OurCrowd investor representatives are available. If you have questions about the company, things we can answer, we will. If there's a specific technology question, something that requires the input from VocalZoom and Yechiel's expertise, we'll get the answer from Yechiel. So feel free to reach out if you have any follow-on questions. Before we hand the controls over to Yechiel, I just want to talk about the 4 reasons why we're investing in VocalZoom here at OurCrowd. Again, if you're new to the platform, every investment that comes up on our website, we do invest in. And so if you have an investment case, you can read excerpts of that investment case. If you do log into your account at OurCrowd.com, click on the VocalZoom tombstone and go to the Our Take section. You'll see a clear description of what we've done. First reason we're investing in VocalZoom is that it's an innovative proprietary technology really addressing a massive need in the market. So Siri and Google Voice Search have made speech recognition sort of, more of a household issue. But as we all know, that speech recognition fails due to noisy environments. So VocalZoom's patented technology resolves this problem by using optical sensors to measure vibrations from the throat and the face of the speaker. This is really unique. This approach filters out external audio signals received by traditional acoustic microphones. And the result, and Yechiel will actually give us an example of how this works, a real demo, is practically a noise-free audio signal that's highly accurate. The other is the second reason we're investing in VocalZoom is that speech recognition is a large growing market. Our analysis and looking at what third parties have written, we're seeing a 22% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, through 2016, and we're expecting software revenues alone to reach close to $20 billion at the end of the same period. VocalZoom's technology spans the speech recognition application space, and as Yechiel will talk about, it has applications in automotive, home entertainment, personal and commercial headsets, making it well positioned to capture market share across the entire industry. They have an impressive backing by strategic tier 1 investors and partners. In VocalZoom's previous funding round, which happened in September of 2013, OurCrowd was joined by 2 significant strategic investors. One was 3M, which is an $80 billion global conglomerate, and the other was a top-tier auto manufacturer that will help commercialize VocalZoom's technology for use in cars. In addition to these initial high-profile partners and investors, in the second half of 2013, VocalZoom signed a strategic development partnership, including an equity investment, with the leading Japanese speech recognition / UI licensing company. In this round, a multi-billion-dollar market-leading telco will also be joining this roster of VocalZoom investors. And the last reason we're investing in VocalZoom is the experienced, well-rounded team. The VocalZoom team is comprised of seasoned industry veterans, including Talpa Kish, the founder and CEO, who has over 11 years of experience in VLSI engineering, and he's worked with such firms as Cisco and IBM. President Yechiel Kurtz, who you'll hear from tonight, has over 24 years of operational and investment experience as an executive with Apex Partners and MRV Communications. And the remainder of the team is strong as well. There's extensive experience in signal processing algorithms from the DSP group, systems engineering from the Technion, and chemical physics. One of the team members has a PhD from Yale, as well as other team members with operations and sales. So you'll hear directly from Yechiel Kurtz, the executive chairman and president tonight. You'll get a feel for the flavor of the team. And I guess without further ado, Yechiel Kurtz, I'd like to turn it over to you to present VocalZoom.
So Zach, thank you very much for giving the introduction. My name is Yechiel Kurtz. I'm the executive chairman and president, and joining with me here is Tal Bakish, the company's founder and CEO.
Hello.
Great. So we'll be doing the presentation. I'll be covering all the issues, and then when we come to the Q&A, if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy in taking them. So basically, who is VocalZoom? VocalZoom has a very simple and clear mission. We are planning to be a leading provider of speech recognition solutions for communication in any environment. Now, these are two main issues. One, we cover both communications, hands-free communications and speech recognition. Probably the issue is much more of a problem with speech recognition because the human ear is quite an impressive machine, basically quite insensitive to background noise, while speech recognition is very highly sensitive to background noise. We solve the problems for both, and we see ourselves as an enabler for speech recognition in any environment. And our solution comes with a very, very unique approach, which we'll talk in a couple of slides here. It's based on an optical sensor that we have developed with very, very deep technology. So just to give you a very quick snapshot of where we are in terms of the company, both in terms of R&D and business side. So we have a operational prototype available for about 1.5 years already. It's the 2nd generation, and we'll be coming out with the 3rd generation of our prototype in the next month or two. These are basically prototypes that we've been testing in the field with customers. So these are field tested prototypes of fully operational. We expect to come out with engineering samples in the final form factor in the mid-2015 and go into mass production for the short-range version of our product by the end of 2015. As Zach mentioned, we have a development agreement already with one of the top 10 automotive OEMs. I apologize that I can't disclose the names of these, but I think you'll be quite impressed by the quality of them. Of course, with the 3M Corporation, we signed both in a collaboration and investment agreement. A leading Japanese company in the area of speech recognition signed a product development with us and an equity investment. We've raised $4 million in 2 rounds to date from 3M Ventures, Mayan Ventures, which is a technological incubator, and our crowd as well. We're raising $11.3 million in the Series C financing, and it doesn't say that here, but we have already out of that more than $7 million committed for the initial closing. So very, very quick background on myself. I basically have a 12-year operational expertise from the industry with leading companies such as MRV Communications. I started off as an electronics engineer, moved into strategic sales, and my last position there was Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Sales. This is a listed NASDAQ company, working with companies such as Intel, Fujitsu, Lenovo, all in private label and OEM. Tal Bakish has over 15 years already experience in VLSI engineering. And then moving off to be a freelance with other companies that you see here on the list, basically freeing up time to be able to found this company and some others as well, and starting his tenure as the CEO of VocalZoom at the end of 2009. All the rest of the team members, which we are now already, we've grown to about 14 people, All of them are veterans of the industry with a lot of expertise. This is why people with strong expertise are required. So the need and opportunity of what we see in both areas that we cover, in hands-free communication and in speech recognition, is if we look at the expectations in terms of communications, they want reliable communication and effective speech recognition. And this is one of the major problems. Speech recognition has been in the market for the past probably 10 to 15 years, but it never actually picked up because people start to use it and they get very low recognition rates in real-world environments, and therefore they just dump it. And therefore, this is a human and machine interface that should have been the interface of choice, but basically doesn't live up to the expectations, and therefore people are not using it as we envision. Our goal is to increase the speech recognition rates beyond the 90% and make this speech recognition as the user interface of choice. The main problem is background noise. Background noise kills recognition rates in any almost real-world environment. And rates are, even in the best operation today, in the 30 to 40%, which is nothing that you would use on a daily basis. So even with the recent increase in use of speech recognition through the availability of Siri, Google Search, and others, which are great applications, but you'll see that even today, only about 20% of people that started to use Siri will continue using them on somewhat of an ongoing basis. Most of the people just, it fails to give them a response that they want, mainly, again, because the system doesn't understand what you're saying because of the background noise. So our solution is a combination of acoustic and optical sensor, and the unique part of it is the optical sensor, which gives a very, very high recognition rate and a very clear signal. The areas that we cover are, as you see on the right, the automotive, the smartphone, the mobile computing, call centers, etc. So all these are within, these are all relevant applications to our products, and it's apparent also in the companies that we've been speaking with and doing business with. So this is probably the main slide, and I think the secret sauce of VocalZoom. So we were looking for something that would give us a very high correlation to the person's speech, but would be unaffected by any background noise. And the way that we did this is in a very, very unique way. We didn't try to do any signal processing on the noisy signal, because at the end that fails in heavy noise. But we were able to design and develop an optical sensor that actually measures the vibrations of the person who's speaking on the facial skin and on the throat. So when a person is speaking, his or her throat and face are vibrating at the same frequencies as the voice coming out of his or her mouth. These are very, very minute vibrations in the order of anywhere between a few hundred nanometers and a few microns, depending on the area on the facial skin or the throat. And this is something that cannot be detected by any regular means of technology. So what we were able to do is design an optical product, an optical sensor, that can actively measure these vibrations remotely, anywhere from 0 up to about 3 to 4 feet, and measure them very, very accurately, and do this with a very low cost and a very small size. That's the pillar, I would say, of the intellectual property of the company. So first of all, the idea of measuring something directly on the person who's talking and using that to separate him or her from the background noise, because none of the background noise is reflected on the facial skin and the throat vibrations. These are vibrations that are caused only by the person's speech, and that's it. So that gives us a very clear reference signal that we can actually hear a person without even receiving any acoustic wave. It's quite science fiction, but it actually works, and we've been improving it to customers in the field. So we take the information that we derive from this optical sensor, which is mainly voice activity detection. We know exactly when the person is speaking to the level of a microsecond, and also the frequencies of his speech, the fundamental frequencies of this person's speech, and then we apply these to clean out all the noise coming in through the acoustic sensors, the acoustic microphones, which give us, on one hand, the high quality, but on the other hand, also pick up the noise. So we're able then to use the information from the optical sensor to clean out all the noise coming through the acoustic microphones. And then, of course, we do our magic in the signal processing on using both of these with a noise reduction algorithm, and we hand off the clean signal either for a communication system or for speech recognition. So again, we do not do the speech recognition or the communications. We leave these to the, of course, the incumbents that are there, such as Nuance and the speech recognition, Google Voice, and others. We provide them with a clean signal as if you were sitting in a quiet office and doing your speech recognition there. The product offering will be a miniature module integrated, and basically there's two versions, one for far reach, one for short reach. The far reach is used mainly in the automotive. This is something going up to about 3 to 4 feet. It'll automatically scan and find the face of the person in front of them sitting within the field of view, lock onto the best location, and continue tracking the person's face once he or her are moving. The short reach version is something that will be embedded into headsets, smartphones, these type of systems that are very close to the face and always pointing towards the face, so they don't need any scanning capabilities. On top of that, of course, we'll be adding the noise reduction algorithm itself. We've supplied this year, in April this year, already evaluation units of the prototype to paying customers. There were 12 units going out, and each of them was paid for. And we'll be providing the next generation of these evaluation kits in the next few months. And as I said, we'll be providing engineering samples of the short-range version in mid-2015 and going into mass production for the short range by the end of 2015. So I'd like to give you two examples. The first one is a woman in Chinese speaking in a noisy area, and the reason that we did it in a different language than English is just to show that this is speaker agnostic and doesn't require any training either by the language or the person who's talking at all. And I'm going to click on the left side. This is going to be, you'll be hearing a woman speaking within a bustling restaurant, very noisy, and trying to send an SMS. If you know Chinese, you'll be able to understand what she's saying. And I'll click on the right side, which is 100% the exact same recording, but using our technology as a front end to the speech recognition engine and reducing the noise doing that. So we ran these, of course, recordings through a speech recognition engine. In this case, it was Google Voice. The left-hand side did in 0 recognition rate, and the right-hand side, after the noise reduction, resulted in 100% recognition rate. The next one will show you a little bit the difference between the human ear and speech recognition. When I click on the left side, you'll be able to hear a person counting in English. On the background, you'll hear a racing engine. The human ear will be able to detect what the person is saying, but if you try to run this in a speech recognition engine, it'll basically result in 0 recognition.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Now these are quite extreme levels of noise, and here again on the left right-hand side, we're using VocalZoom.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So I hope you'll be able to appreciate basically the major difference between using VocalZoom and without. Those of you who have more of a knowledge on the audio, you can also see the waveforms on the top, and you'll understand from them the level of the noise. The same thing was done with the Japanese speech recognition engine, and what you can see here in the very high noise environment, which is 85 dB, the recognition rate without VocalZoom was 15.2%, and with VocalZoom was about close to 85%. This is what basically brought this company to sign the agreement with us, both for an equity investment and for a business development deal, in which they are designing an actual product using our technology and we'll be enjoying both revenue from them as well as royalties. Similar results were achieved with English and Chinese speech recognition engines as well. Here's another result from testing. This is with our automotive partner. The scenario here was driving at about 60 miles per hour. In some of the cases, the windows were opened either partially or full, and with or without a background speaker. So if you look on the graph on the right-hand side, the left side of the graph is when in parking, when everything was quiet and the system was working close to 100% with or without VocalZoom. Once the windows were open partially, the system recognition rate dropped to about 50% without VocalZoom and 93% using VocalZoom as the front end. If the windows were open completely, it dropped to about 20%, and again with VocalZoom 85%. And when there was another speaker in the background disregarding if the windows were open or closed, then the system collapsed completely and there was zero recognition rate. Using VocalZoom technology as a front end, it was 80%. And again, this is disruptive in terms of the capability to increase speech recognition results. This brings it close to the 90%, which is our goal in most environments to reach. And this is very, very extreme noise as well. We did some competitive testing with other leading edge technologies. If you see the middle one is the microphone array, which is considered today to be the leading edge in for speech recognition or noise reduction for speech recognition. This is an example of a company called Andrea, which is considered to be one of the best in this area. It includes 4 microphones and very heavy signal processing using 2 large DSPs. This is a unit that costs in retail about $350 and is quite large in both in size, and it has to be that way because the microphones have to be separated in space. We did the same scenario as before, driving at 60 miles per hour with a passenger talking, and basically the top of the line, I would say, was able to reach about 65% recognition rate, and using our technology above 90%. So again, it's statistical, of course, but you can see the increase from the current incumbent. Well, I'm giving you some quote or praise from selected customers, and I think what's most impressive for me is the one in the middle. This is a leading speech recognition engine vendor in Japan. This is the one that signed with us. I've been working with Japanese company probably for the past 20 years. I have never heard from a Japanese company that they would tell us that our technology is truly revolutionary, and definitely not the case after first meeting. So this, I pride ourselves very much. I can't take credit for the actual initial technology. That comes to Tal and the rest of the founders, but I think the team here did a great job in bringing it to fruition and bringing these prototypes to a fully operational functionality. We have already 2 patents that have been awarded in the US already in 2010 on the main idea, first of all, direct sampling on the active speaker to achieve speaker isolation from the background noise. And this is very wide in terms of its applicability because it covers not only optical but other types of electromagnetic illumination, and also the combination of the optical sensors and the acoustic as well. So all these are covered in terms of the main idea. We have also submitted 1 patent for a specific application. There's other 7 in drafting stage, but I would say that there's beyond this very, very deep technology, which very excuse me, puts a lot of a very high barrier to entry for anyone who's going to try to do something similar. We're the only one in the world, to the best of our knowledge, that has commercialized this type of technology, definitely for this type of application, of doing something on the human face. And the human facial skin is one of the worst surfaces to work with because it's very porous, it's diffusive, it doesn't return a lot of light, etc. And this is something that we have been able to achieve, as I said, about 3 orders of magnitude in terms of decrease in cost and size from other optical solutions that are used today in industrial automation or anything like that. So those, of course, cannot be applicable for our applications. The customer segments or the main markets that we cover are the automotive. So there's over 65 million cars already, 70 million cars already. Probably more than a third of them include some type of speech recognition functionality today. The company that we're working with, almost all their cars already have speech recognition capabilities, and they were hit pretty hard in the J.D. Power and Associates survey, both in 2012 and in 2014, by the fact that the systems don't work in real-world scenarios. And as J.D. Power put it, we don't want more features, we don't want bells and whistles, we just want it to work. And that's what we will bring to the market. Smartphones, of course, again, you may think that if the microphone is very close to the mouth, that it cleans out any noise. It does, of course, improve some of the signal-to-noise ratio, but in many cases, I think most of you will agree that if you're in a very noisy area, the person on the other side of the line will ask you to move to a more quiet environment. And also, if you try to do operation with speech recognition on most smartphones, you'll end up with maybe 50% recognition rate at the most. We're looking at mobile computing, we're looking at call centers, conferences as well, and all these are very, very large markets that we are targeting. In terms of our business models, we are flexible. Some of our customers are requesting that we supply the entire integrated module, and this is something, if you're wondering what size we're talking about, this is, the short range version. We're talking about something like 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter by 3 millimeter. That's the target size. So it's less than a quarter of an inch by a quarter of an inch. Something very, very small that you can integrate almost in any type of device. So some of our customers are requesting the entire module, such as the Japanese partner. We're looking at, for the automotive, it will most likely be selling into tier ones that sell at the end into the OEM and selling them the critical components, and they will put together the final product. If we look to the cell phones, etc., and try to drive the cost down to what's required in order to get a very wide receiving market, then that would probably go into IP licensing. Some of the components we would supply as critical components, and some of the IP will be licensed to be integrated into the cell phone electronics. In all of these business models, we basically see a 50% or more gross margin, and that's our expectation going forward. We've, as I said, raised about $4 million to date. Our seed funding came from a technological incubator, Iris Ventures, and our series, basically what is a Series B, but what we call the first institutional round, was led by 3M Ventures. This is the first company that they funded in Israel, and I think if you hear that from them, I think they're quite pleased of what we've been doing with them, and we see them as a very, very good partner. On top of that, 650 invested by our crowd, and I can tell you that they're one of the great partners that we have ever had, really supportive, and we thank them for that. And another 400K invested by Silverfish. It's two private investors. These are veterans of the industry. On top of that, we received already grants from the Office of the Chief Israeli Scientist, and also received some funding from the automotive OEM. So what changed since the second round that began in November 2012 by 3M, their first investment? So if at the time the system operation was operating only on the throat skin with limited accuracy, today we've increased the sensitivity, I wouldn't say 1 to 2x, it's probably almost a factor of almost between 5 to 10x, because the amplitude of the vibrations on the face are about between 5 to 10 times smaller than on the throat. So we needed to increase the accuracy very, very much, and that is definitely a challenge. We've been able to cross that, and we completed the definition and main development of the critical subsystem, which is actually taking the prototype and reducing it in size by moving to an ASIC, a application-specific integrated circuit, a chip that we are designing used based on our discrete components that we've used until now. We already crossed 90% of that design, and we proved that design already in what we call an FPGA, or what's in the market, which is a field programmable gate array, which is actually the ASIC in a programmable format. So we know already that it can work, and it will work in the final ASIC. We've done testing, of course, with at the time only with the automotive vendor and very limited at the time. Today, we received already substantial market validation from many, many leading companies, including all the VocalZoom target ones, and including pre-order of paid orders of evaluation kits. As I said, to date, we've sold in the first version about 12 of those units, each of them at $5,000 each. And these are, again, remember, evaluation units. We just received an order of $50,000 for 2 evaluation units from one of the largest mobile vendors in the world. I can't again disclose their name, but they are looking to do a accessory for the mobile device in the car, and this is a multi-million dollar opportunity for us, probably tens of millions in this case. And then, of course, with this company, once we prove the value, the technology will be able to move into directly integrated into the smartphone, and that's, of course, the holy grail of any company. So just if I go to the pipeline, and the Japanese partner, this is the earset. This is a company that has already started design, and above the $1 million that they put as an equity investment, they're probably going to spend another between $1 to $2 million in a product development. This is an earset for speech recognition and hands-free communication, specifically for Japan, high noise areas, as well for speech recognition. And this is already a signed agreement, and a lot of work has went into the product definition as well. So this will probably be the first product coming out to the market using VocalZoom technology. The leading communications vendor, this is the new partner that is a strategic partner from the US, a multi-billion company that's coming in and investing $3 million in the equity. We've already signed, or we will sign, I'm sorry, next week, a supply agreement with this company. This is part of the investment as well. And this is definitely a tens of million dollars opportunity with them. And so we're signing already the definitive commercial supply agreement with them. The leading mobile OEM, I just covered that. That's for the car accessory for the mobile phone. They placed a $50,000 order for the evaluation unit. The Japanese aftermarket, one of the leaders, one of the 3 largest automotive aftermarket, has been testing us for about 8 months now. Japanese companies, as you know, do very extensive testing. We're passing very well, and we're going to supply them beginning of next year with the final version of the prototype, which should basically be what's required to close the design win with them. The large, of course, automotive partner that we have has a 2-year exclusivity from the launch of the product, so that will bring us quickly into the market. And quickly for automotive means probably about 5 years from inception, from 2012. So in 2017, we expect already to see revenues from them. We have many other automotive OEMs coming to us and requesting to test our technology and move it forward. As we said, we are working with our main partner today and opening it up for testing for other OEMs. And they already placed, some of them, paid orders already for the evaluation units, and we expect, this is the entire market for the automotive, and that would start probably in 2019. So the plan now is to raise $11.3 million, and that would bring us for 24 months of operation to substantial sales. That would basically complete the commercialization of the technology and move us into sales, actual sales in 2016. 7.3 out of the 11.3 have been committed to already for initial closing, so we expect to close this 7.3 by the end of this month, and we'll be leaving the round open for another 4 million for new investors to come in, and we have already quite a lot of interest doing that from large companies as well as private investors. Just to show you a little bit of the comparables and what they have been able to achieve, and these are all companies that are, I would say, relevant and comparable markets to us. If you look at MaxLinear, which is a provider of RF chipsets for mobile handsets, pieces, and automotive, so this is very similar march to us, and also a component in about the same cost as ours or price. They started off with sales of less than $1 million in 2009, and were able to reach about $51 million of sales in 3 years or 4 years of sales. It just shows you that, again, if you have a unique technology with a very unique advantage, you're able to increase sales and also reach, of course, to an IPO in this case, or an exit, with a very nice valuation. We look at audience, which is very relevant. It's a chipset company that does noise reduction mainly for or only for hands-free communications. They started sales in 2008 and were able to reach $50 million again in about 3 years of sales. PrimeSense in Israel was sold to Apple at 360. Again, an example of unique technology, and Copperbait you see as yourself on this. So just to summarize, we are addressing very large markets with a very unique solution. This is a market with a problem that exists, a very difficult problem to solve. We're solving it with a very unique and fresh application with our optical microphone. And we have a very, very good team which has been able to prove that at a limited budget was able to both reach amazing, I would say, progress on the technical side as well as the business development. So we basically would like to offer you to join this success, and hopefully, you know, I wouldn't say that we would be the next Mobileye. Let's try to be a little bit humble, but I think we can reach great things together with you. So thank you very much, and we'll take the questions now.
Great. Yechiel, I'll let you catch your breath. I apologize. It sounds like there is an echo on the line, and it seems to be reverberating around from my end. Couple questions about the product itself, and as you're moving to the face, does facial hair or any clothing around the neck seem to impact, its sensitivity?
That's a great question. I would say probably, after shaving, there's no issue. But if a person has a dense beard, that's why we added the scanning capabilities, definitely in the far range, that is capable of finding automatically the best location on the face. Now, the cheek area is always an area that is exposed, and therefore that's the reason why we needed to move and cover also the facial skin and not only the throat. Because the throat, if your shirt is buttoned up or you have a tie or whatever, it's hard to reach, the throat area. The cheek area, the nose area, these are areas that are always exposed, and we can always find a good location on these points.
Great. That actually came from a couple investors. Martin asks a question. How much does this product add to the cost of a cell phone or a car?
Another great question. Our bill of materials for the different versions ranges, let's say, they're all single-digit dollar. And this would be probably, the price to the end product, from our point of view, again, is about a 50% gross margin or above. So if we're talking about cell phones, it would probably add, or our sale price to the mobile vendor would be in the range of, again, the lower single-digit dollar, while in the automotive, it can probably go, our sale price to the automotive vendor, something between $10 to $20 per unit. I wouldn't want to go into very, very specifics, but I think that gives you a feeling. We can go even beyond or lower than that, depending, of course, on the business model, and we verified this with our partners.
Some more questions around the product and how it works. Has the optical sensor been tested on different types or amounts of skin pigmentation?
Yes, great question again. When we did the testing with the automotive vendor, this was one of their main specific points that they wanted to test. So they brought us quite a large number of subjects from different ages, different races, different skin colors, etc. They tried almost everything. We didn't see any major difference between the different subjects.
Great. A lot of good questions around the product. Jordan and Ruben ask a similar question. If the user isn't facing the microphone, will it still work? At what angle does the sensor sort of lose its sensitivity?
We've done testing to up to about 45 to 60 degrees, and we didn't see almost any degradation in terms of performance. And remember also that the scanning capabilities, at least in the far range, give you the capability of moving and finding the best place. So if you're moving your face to the side, the cheek is always still about 90 degrees towards the the sensor once we move to the sensor to the best location. So again, it can work anywhere between up to about 45 to 60 degrees incident angle, but we can also move we can scan and find the best location when the person moves his or her face.
Okay, I think that's it for the technical questions. A couple more questions now about business model and production costs. What's the production cost of the unit?
I think, again, I wouldn't want to go into very, very specifics. As I said, in large quantities, this goes in the single-digit dollar, and it can range between, very, very low single-digit in very large quantities, depending on the business model, to the $6, $7 for the far range, in large quantities. So again, wouldn't like to go into very, very specifics on the cost, but the cost is very highly relevant to the applications that we're talking to.
So I know you addressed this already, Akhil. In terms of the aftermarket, can you add this device to existing phones or cars in use?
Great question. We are, as we're speaking, and I think that's probably the first product in the market would be, as I said, in earship. But at the same time, what we see, and this is the initial interest from the mobile vendor, is to come up with an accessory that you'd use anywhere, either in your car or on your phone or with your computer, etc. Something that would communicate, let's say, with Bluetooth with the phone or the car system, and then you would then benefit from the performance of the VocalZoom product without having to integrate it into the phone or the car. Of course, as things progress and you want to reduce costs, we are looking in the future to integrate these directly into the car and into the cell phone. But at the beginning, an accessory which has a market for probably tens of millions of units is definitely the right thing to start with.
And lastly, while we're talking on the technical side, production side, David asks, what are your main technical and other challenges that you may face?
Again, a great question. We are doing something here that no one has done. So beyond development, there's some research being done as well. As the level of the intellectual property increases, of course the challenges increase. And I would say that it took us time to move specifically from the throat area to the face area because of the accuracy required. Just recently, about a month ago, we had our second spin of the optical component, which was able to work on almost any place on the face. In the laboratory, we maybe do a second and third spin on that to make it more stable. But basically, we crossed, I would say, the high risk components or issues with the development. So I would say it's mainly execution going forward. I wouldn't say that there's no risk with any technological company. There's still risk, but I would say the risk is reasonable in terms of what I've seen in other companies. And moving forward, it's mainly execution.
Great. Now we just have a handful of questions left. These are all grouped around the financing round. You mentioned, this round is a pretty significant round. You said it's 11.3 million. Do you plan to raise? Are you going to need to raise any more money going forward?
Well, when you reach, I think, substantial sales, and let's be humble and say that we're aiming for something like about $5 million in 2016. And again, $5 million doesn't make you profitable, so it allows you to do the next round at a very high valuation with very low dilution. Yes, I do expect that there'll be required one other round probably to bring us to profitability, but I would say that would most likely be done at a high valuation and low dilution.
Both Sarit and Michael ask you to confirm your pre-money valuation and post-money after this round.
The pre-money valuation is $16 million. The post-money will be 27.3, assuming that, of course, that we raise the entire 11.3. The first initial closing is 7.3, and that would bring us to 23.3 in terms of the post-money valuation.
Great. That's it on the financing round. We have just one question left. So if you have any other questions for Yechiel, please make sure you submit those now. We're nearing the end of the webinar. Ed asks a question, and you had a whole slide, and maybe it's worth going back to the slide, but about your competition from a technological and commercial perspective.
Okay. So from the technological, I would say that the main area of competition, or I wouldn't call it actually competition, but the leading edge today is using multiple microphones, what we call the microphone array. And we feel very confident because we haven't seen anything in our customers. The main thing is coming from our customers. We haven't seen anything that comes close to what is required to bring us to a threshold. Now, it's not good enough to have 40 or 50 or even 60% or even 70% of speech recognition performance. If it doesn't cross the 90% threshold, people are not going to be using this. So that's basically why we set ourselves as a very high threshold in terms of about 90% of speech recognition in most applications. There is one technology that is similar to us and does something similar, which is called bone conduction. And that is a company called Jawbone is using this with a Bluetooth headset, which actually has a sensor that puts a physical force on your face and senses the vibrations coming from the bone. What they can do for using this is mainly a voice activity detection. To the best of our knowledge, they are not doing any fundamental. They can't read the fundamental frequencies, mainly because connecting to the right place on the face is different for every person, and therefore they cannot get a very good result from that. From our point of view, we're really happy that it works out because there's a company that is selling more than $150 million. It just shows that people are willing to pay more for a better quality product. In our case, we are not a B2C. We do not sell an end product. We sell a device that goes into the Samsungs, the Apples of the world, the General Motors, the Toyotas of this world. So more than happy that they are succeeding in their type of device. We are selling a component that goes into the large incumbents, and this is our main difference. We can do this remotely without any physical contact on the person, which is a major issue, both for comfort and for performance.
Just a quick follow-on question to that, Yechiel. So that's competition in a commercialized product already. Do you know of any other initiatives that are approaching, this speech recognition issue from a similar perspective that you guys are?
No, we are not aware of anyone else who's doing something similar. And if we would be aware, we would probably suing them for infringement on the patent.
Nice. Last question just kind of came in from Sarit. Technically, where do you mount the optical sensor in the car?
Another great question. I think the car OEM is also debating that. Most likely, it will be fit in the rear view mirror. So that's something that always faces towards the the driver's seat, and it's very easy to point towards yourself. Of course, again, it'll have the automatic capabilities in our case, but it gives you a initial direction, and also is something that has no obstructions between the person's face and the rear view mirror.
Yechiel Kurtz, Chairman and President of VocalZoom, thank you for joining us on the Outcrowd Investor webinar tonight.
Thank you very much for having us, and we look forward to having you join us in the investment.
Again, I'm Zach Miller, partner here at Outcrowd. I apologize if there was an echo either now or earlier in the session. The VocalZoom materials are up on the website right now, so if you do log into your account, you should be able to see there's a video there, the same presentation that you've seen tonight, some information about the team as well as the deal terms a few of you asked about, and what I think is one of the most valuable documents that we've produced, the Our Take, which is really a summary of our due diligence materials. Thank you for spending your time with us tonight. I know your time is valuable, and